in an hour. What's next?
The last person responsible for all of this dies tonight.
If we make it out of here.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is VGT, and you're watching a video review of Prototype for the Xbox 360 and PS3. Alright, so let's get right into it. In this game, you play as Alex Mercer. You're in the city of Manhattan, and then there's a virus that breaks out pretty much that spreads across the whole city. And then the people of the city think that you're the main cause of it, especially the police and the army and all that. So basically, your whole job is to find out what happened and why it happened and who did it to you. As far as the way the game tells you the story, it's somewhat of a downfall. I mean, it really doesn't explain fully what happens. It just puts you in there and it's like, okay, why don't you go to this marker, we're gonna go on a mission, and then you end up going, then you find somebody, and then that further draws out the story. But as far as really emphasizing on gripping the player, it doesn't really do a good job. They like somewhat took a shortcut as far as putting in a lot of detail, a lot of emphasis on how they tell the story, as opposed to showing how much effort that they put into the gameplay. But I mean, they might have been able to step it up a little bit. But now the one thing that I actually like about the story is how like the whole thing does a whole flashback animation. So once you finish every mission, or once you grab any type of character and read their memories, it flashes back to what really happened and how it links to you, which is a pretty good twist. Now, like, really, I'm gonna be honest, the only thing that really bothers me about the story is that like it's somewhat very predictable. Very predictable. I mean, like from the people that you meet, you have to follow people how you pretty much read their memories and see how it looks to you. It like somewhat gets old after about the first 2 or 3 hours. Now, as far as the story overall, it's not good, it's not bad. To be honest, it's about average at best. But I mean, it really shouldn't ruin your actual experience with the game itself. Alright, the most important topic of all, gameplay. Now first, I'm gonna get this right off my back because I already know there's people watching the video just to see what this answer is. Stop comparing this game to Infamous. Like, it's really not that similar. It's really hardly similar at all. The only thing that they really have in common is that they're both sandbox games and they're both kind of violent. That's pretty much it. I mean, like, this is a whole new experience from Infamous, whole new experience. So I'm gonna leave it at that. As far as the game, the actual gameplay, it really does a really good job. It drops you right in the very beginning. You start off with everything that you can have as far as your powers, and then as opposed to doing like a little step-by-step tutorial, it just throws you in a little sandbox. You just go at it, and then you like basically end up learning everything as opposed to doing like your basic training like in most games do. And like which is a really cool twist. I mean, you have everything with really seeing what the game can really be about. Once you get further into it, as opposed to building up yourself in the very beginning like most games do. Now, the main selling point, as far as me as a gamer, that really got me interested is the powers. I mean, I remember playing Spider-Man 2, how like the old game itself wasn't linear, so therefore you can run up pretty much anything you want. With this, it just feels so much better. Like, you can run straight up walls, you can change your fists into blades, into the little hammer things that I have right now. Yeah, it just works really fluid. The only thing that I don't really like that really stood out is that the actual targeting system is a little bit clunky. I mean, sometimes you'll try to aim at something that's right in front of you, and as opposed to doing that, it'll change to something that's right behind you. So I mean, that whole thing kind of turned me off, but not really. So yeah, but now the game itself does a really good job with the whole action thing. I mean, like, everything is just intense, as you just saw. Just drop the people's elbow on the fucking tank. So I mean, like, it just does a really good job with just action packed. Everything's coming at you all at once. You can do whatever you want. You choose to run, you can jump, you can fly away, you can fight them, pick up cars. I mean, like, it's just all laid out on the table, and I really like that about this game. Now, the other main aspect that I really like is that the game never really drops frame rate. Even with all this shit going on, everything just goes real fluid. Really fluid. I mean, as much as I play, I've never had the game chop up on me at all, which is a big plus in my book. And as far as missions go, they're all right. I mean, as far as the pace of the story, it really doesn't ruin it. It's just like sometimes you end up doing a lot of the same thing over and over, which somewhat like hurts the actual game experience. But like on the other hand, since the gameplay is so good, it really doesn't matter. I mean, like, to be honest, like if a mission sends me to an army base 5 times in a row, but if I get to blow up a tank, it's just pure fun. So it really doesn't hurt your experience that bad. But like the only thing that really does kind of hurt the game, well, in a very minor way, is that there's a shitload of moves, and so you might not know all of them by heart, and then some of them are really out of the way. Like there's a move that has you press X and B at the same time, which is pretty fucking ridiculous. Like for somebody to pull that off, I mean, it's just really out there. But I mean, at the same time, for a game that had this many moves, it's not that bad. The gameplay overall, it's a very fun experience, very good. I mean, it's very fluid, no frame rate drops, anything like that. It's just hella fun jumping around, flying around, hijacking tanks and helicopters. It's just all around good fun. Blood and guts everywhere. Everybody loves that shit. So I'm gonna be honest, it's not as good as Infamous, but it's pretty damn close. I mean, as far as the gameplay mechanics, it does what it's supposed to do, and which is supposed to make the game fun. So it really does its job. As far as the graphics, they're not bad. They're definitely not the best, but they're not that bad. They're not that bad. But now, like as you see right here, this is actually a video scene, which is obviously CGI, which is kind of bad because I mean nowadays there are games that look like CGI quality. So I mean there's a little bit of a back step, but I mean for like the actual arsenal that the gameplay has, it does somewhat balance out. Now, however, the graphics itself does have somewhat of a drawback. I mean, there's a whole bunch of popping. It's not that often, but when you're on top of buildings and you are flying at high speeds, it is very noticeable. And then on top of that, like there are little particles that you have to collect. You know, for if you want achievements or whatever. It's like little blue balls that you have to collect. But like sometimes you'll be like walking around or flying by or whatever. But like since the graphics pop up is so bad that like sometimes you actually miss it, or you actually won't be able to see it. So you're like 5 feet away from it. So that sometimes messes up the experience. But it's not too bad to actually ruin how fun and good this game is. Now as far as the blood and gore, it just looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, there's nothing like watching somebody get cut in half on a HD TV. Like it just looks really good. As far as everything else, I really wish I could say the same thing. If you look at the explosions and all that, like it's passable, but it's not as good as what you think that game's coming out now should look like. Now, as far as the graphics overall, they're not good, they're not bad. To be honest, they're about average at best. Now, as far as those gamers who are on the verge of choosing this or Infamous, I would say get Infamous if you have a PS3. If you don't, you have 360, go for Prototype. If you have both, I would say check out both. They're both really good games. Alright, this is VGT, and thanks for watching the video review of Prototype.